Hi, friends. In our time together today, we want to talk about an air, a slow air, and a slow air. I hope it'll make sense. Special thank you to those of you who asked for us to have this conversation. I really appreciate it. It's one I've been wanting to have, but to be honest, I've been a little afraid of having because it's taken a lot of conversation with traditional players I know, a lot of research, reading forums, some books. I even found a doctorate thesis about the distinction between an air and a slow air, and watching a lot of videos. I've loved the research, and I'm wanting to give you today what I found. Let's look first at an air. You won't find an air listed as an Irish tune type. However, you will find lists of airs out there. And the reason is because an air is a way of playing a tune rather than a type of tune. And this is a good distinction for us to keep in mind. An air is the instrumental version of a song, that is, a tune with lyrics. Although there were some tunes that were written specifically just for listening. And so they would fall into that category as well. So those nice kind of story songs that are a little thoughtful, that were written for you to sit and listen to, that someone plays as an instrumental, that falls into this category. So with an air, though, an air is still a song played as an instrumental that was written in a specific rhythm, a specific cadence that is then followed in the instrumental version. And so the air is played in the rhythm in which the song is written. Remember this comment about the consistent rhythm of the tune as we move forward, because that's a key to the difference between an air and the traditional definition of a slow air. So an air might have been written as a march or a waltz or some other tune, Irish tune type, but it is played as a listening piece. Again, played in the rhythm in which the original song was written. For example, we recently played a number of airs, actually, and we have played the tune, most recently, the song for the books. And you could have played it and that's according to the time signature and the rhythm, but that's not played as an air because it's not played as you would listen to someone singing the song. So appropriately, it would be more of an air when I played it. And so that would fall into the category. I know it's not a huge distinction, but that would be more like an air. But again, consistent rhythm. This can be a little confusing because sometimes a jig and a reel are played in a consistent rhythm and people are listening. But I think an example may help. Let's go back to us sitting around in a pub, sharing a pint and a conversation. We're having a great time. There's a trad band over in the corner. They're playing some great jigs and reels. Everybody in the pub's laughing. Conversations are everywhere. The music is just slightly above the noise of the conversations. You can hardly even hear each other talk. It's a blast. But then, an instrumentalist with his low D whistle starts playing something slowly and thoughtfully. Maybe the song for the books, and they're playing it in a thoughtful way, and the conversation dies down. Out of respect, everyone turns, listens. The conversation, the laughter, stop. All heads are turned, and we're listening. Now, throw all that in a blender, and you've got an air. A slow air is harder to nail down since the phrase is used in two primary ways. I'm not going to say one's right and the other's wrong. It's just easier to say that there are two definitions to a slow air because both are in play in so many conversations. The first definition I'll share is the popular one that you'll hear most often. The popular understanding is that a slow air is an air played more slowly and emotively as though someone were thoughtfully singing. I know I just said you could use that as a definition for an air. Ha! That's why I said at the start that the waters are muddy. You'll see these definitions in play. The distinction between an air and a slow air get really fuzzy. But at the end, the traditional definition of a slow air is pretty distinct. That's a hard line. But the popular understanding of a slow air is simply what I just said. It is an air played very thoughtfully and emotively. So if I played the song for the books and I had just listened to people singing it, then I might play it just a little differently, a little more emotively and thoughtfully. And that would fall into the definition, the popular definition of a slow air. And that's fine. Understand that that's in play. And that's what most people are doing. And that's okay. So accept that that's out there and understand that a slow air, popular definition is when someone is going to thoughtfully and emotively play an air, a song with lyrics played as an instrumental. A distinction I want to bring up again. This first definition of a slow air has us playing the tune in the rhythm in which it was written, which is a consistent time signature. So like we played Song for the Books, it's written in 3/4 time. If the tune might be in 6/8, the tune might be a march in 4/4. This type of slow air would be played in that rhythm consistently. Bear that in mind before we move to the traditional definition of a slow air. So we've talked about an air and the popular definition of a slow air. Now I want to talk about the traditional definition of a slow air. And for this, out of respect, I'm going to put my whistle down. I'm incapable of in public attempting to play such passionate music on my whistle. I don't have the skills. Remember I said that an air and the popular definition of a slow air are not a style of Irish music, but a way of playing one of the styles of Irish music. The traditional definition of a slow air is that it is a style of Irish music. It is its own thing. Also remember I said that an air and the popular version of a slow air still follow the melody in which the song was written. It is an instrumental piece of what was a song played with instruments and someone singing. The traditional version of a slow air, there is no consistent rhythm, and there's not someone accompanying a singer in the original. As a matter of fact, if you look at this old style, you won't find in the traditional definition of a slow air, a tune written in 3/4 time, 4/4, 6/8. It's very different. You see, the traditional definition of a slow air is an instrumental version of a style of Irish music called the Old Way. There is an Irish phrase, forgive my pronunciation, called Sean Nos. A slow air traditionally is when someone plays an instrumental version of a Sean Nos song. So a Sean Nos song is one where someone sang a story. And this singing of a story had no set rhythm, no consistent melody, and was simply someone singing the story. It is said that if you want to play a traditional slow air, you need to immerse yourself into Sean Nos singing. You need to learn how they emoted their voices. You need to learn the history of the tune, each tune. You need to learn how that tune was sung, and then you attempt to sing that with your instrument in the way someone sang the Sean Nos song before. As I said, I'll link some of these. There's a bit of a resurgence of some Sean Nos singing that I found captivating, beautiful. It is its own style. So, as you watch some of these videos, you'll realize the art behind this beautiful tradition of slow air music. And you'll realize the deep skills of the singers and the musicians in expressing it. So one of the best comments I've ever heard of people trying to define an air, a slow air, and a slow air is that something to the effect of every musician and scholar in Ireland has a different opinion of what constitutes a slow air. The line, as I said, between an air and a slow air is really wide and fuzzy, but a traditional slow air is its own creature. Know that. But realize that the popular definition is there too. Accept all three and live with it. I'd love to hear your comments. What have you heard about an air and a slow air? What do you know? What traditional slow airs have you fallen in love with? Have you ever tried to play one? I'd love to know. I'd love for this to be a conversation for us. Until next time, my friends, this is Scott Shade. Happy whistling. And fall in love with airs, slow airs, and slow airs.